We got this video about recycling. I am, shocker, against recycling. I don't buy it. Mainly because I grew up in a house with a garbage man as a father for like ever. And you'd be shocked what this video has to say. Maybe you won't be, but I think there's some honesty in this and where it all ends up, and most of it ends up all in the same place. And your town, you are putting all this effort into sorting out garbage to be brought in the same place. So let's get into it.
Do you recycle?
For sure, absolutely.
Absolutely. Everything I possibly can.
For decades, we've been told,
recycle America. Don't just throw it all away.
because recycling will save the planet.
You're saving the earth.
And that's what people believe.
We have to do it for the kids, for the next generation.
This will all be back on the shelf as a cracker or cereal box in about 4 to 5 weeks.
This recycling company is run by Lynn Hoffman.
If we're not using recycled paper and cardboard, we're cutting down more trees.
Recycling paper and cardboard does save trees.
I literally think I just saw this lady on the news talking about plastic pallets and how she's like, if the wood breaks apart, you have to clean up the wood, but the wood is biodegradable.
Recycling aluminum does save energy, but most of the other stuff is impractical to recycle.
That's right.
This is material that came in to the recycling facility from people's recycling carts and is going to leave as trash.
Huge amounts of what people send to her recycling plant will never be recycled. The worst is plastic, which for years has been marked with the recycling symbol.
We see stuff like this all the time. Recycling arrows on it. Please recycle. It's not recyclable.
Even worse, plastic bags clog the recycling machines.
You have to climb in for a couple hours every day and cut them out with the box cutter.
But people think most of our plastic is recycled.
Yeah, I do think so. Is it not? You're going to tell me it's not? That's the trick?
The reality is that
The amount of plastic.
Note to self, if anyone stops you on the street with a microphone, there's a catch.
Actually recycled is around 5%.
Wow. I figured there was something coming, but
5%. You're sorting, you're going to Whole Foods, you're sorting through all this stuff. Your town is probably making you pay for an extra barrel to sort everything out, to put it in the trash, to hold it for 2 weeks for 5% of it. 5% of it is like a Frisbee, maybe less than a Frisbee. Your whole neighborhood probably produces a Frisbee.
I'm shocked right now. I didn't know.
It's sad.
all my life I've heard about how important it is to recycle.
It's not.
Science writer John Tierney debunked recycling claims years ago. His New York Times Magazine story, "Recycling is Garbage," set a record for Times hate mail. And yet, what you said is still true?
It's even more true today. In fact, the economics have just gotten worse.
Now, my city would save more than $300 million a year if it just stopped recycling.
Recycling is an industry that's using increasingly expensive labor to produce materials that are worth less and less.
Because it's not worth recycling here, much is shipped overseas to countries like Malaysia, where it's just piled up.
A vast field of plastic 2 stories high.
Some of it from America.
See if we can look on the back here. Marysville, Ohio. Look, Walmart bag.
They just dump here and then they burn it.
That pollutes even more. And what they don't burn, they sometimes dump in the ocean.
One garbage truck of plastic is dumped in the sea every minute.
Barely any of that plastic comes from American shores. So
we're the greenest, cleanest nation on earth. At least I think I am. I'm biased. And we're preaching about carbon emissions and all this, cleaning stuff up. We're putting it on the back of the truck, never to see it again. And all it's doing is being sent on truck, which is burning more fuel or whatnot. I'm pro fuel, whatever. Being shipped around the world just to be thrown back in the ocean anyway.
So,
if you care about saving Flipper, you should put your plastic bottle in the garbage.
the garbage? But then it would go to a landfill And aren't we running out of space for landfills?
I'm sure we are.
People believe that because for years the media said,
we've about run out of places to throw away our throwaway.
Yeah, in the city. America's a big place. If you live in a city and there's buildings everywhere, there's no open land, of course there's nowhere to put the trash.
They think that because years ago there was so much publicity about this barge.
A symbol of this country's growing
In the city.
problems with trash.
The barge traveled thousands of miles looking for a place to dump its load. But it wasn't because there wasn't room. States turned this barge away because alarmist media scared people about what it contained.
There could be infectious waste.
Dripping brown ooze of possibly infectious material.
We don't know what kind of tropical vermin is in that garbage.
The EPA later found it was normal garbage. And landfills had plenty of room for it. Today they have more.
Imagine being that guy that gets called up and like, hey, we need you to go look at this pile. And he's like, it's trash.
Space than we'll ever need.
If you think of the United States as a football field, all the garbage that we will generate in the next 1,000 years would fit inside a tiny fraction of the 1-inch line.
Really? Oh, that's surprising.
On top of that, today's landfills are not the polluters they once were. Some sensible regulations make sure they don't pollute. Eventually, landfills are turned into ski hills, parks, and golf courses. Putting garbage here is much cheaper than recycling. So why do towns keep pushing recycling?
Right before we get to towns, I could see like the long-term argument of like, what are we just going to turn everything into a golf course? That would take probably a long time, hundreds of years. I'm just guesstimating here. But we have the same argument with nuclear. What do you do with all that waste? Like, yeah, it can be contained, but for how long? Eventually, it's going to pile up. But how long? How long until you can reuse that land? Say you turn it into a golf course, but how long until you can turn it back into a neighborhood where it's safe and there's not going to be some weird fumes coming out or the ground is stable enough to build on? How long? That's something worth looking into, investigating, and planning for.
They do it because people demand it. It's a sacrament of the green religion.
Yes. My town literally posted something about complaining about there's too much trash getting into the recycling because people, their barrel gets over full and it costs money to get an extra barrel. So they put it in the recycling bin until trash day to move it back into the recycling bin. Sometimes they make a mistake. But most of that recycling stuff, like it says in this video, isn't recyclable at all. So are they talking about people accidentally putting trash in? Or people just out of behavior, seeing a recycling symbol, putting it in the recycling bin, and then thinking it's recyclables? I mean, the town is paying extra money to do this. It's coming out of everyone's pocket to be neat and clean and green.
Rinse my cans. I take my labels off. If there's plastic on that's something that's paper, I take the plastic piece off of it.
That's fine if they want to do it voluntarily, but we shouldn't mandate that. It's not my religion. I don't want to perform that sacrament.
I don't want to either. It's time-consuming and complicated. My city orders us follow all these rules.
And that's one of the reasons recycling fails is because it's so complicated, people never learn the rules. And why should they be spending their free time learning these rules?
Like I just said.
Worse, lots of what we do is pointless.
If you rinse a plastic bottle in hot water, the net result is more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere than if you threw it in the garbage.
Even Greenpeace said most plastic simply cannot be recycled. So what's Greenpeace's solution?
Let's stop producing it.
You're saying don't use plastic at all. Ban plastic.
I think that's where we're headed.
No more plastic? But plastic often creates less emissions than alternatives. Environmental groups rarely mention that, or how they misled us about recycling for years.
It's appalling that after telling people for 3 decades to recycle, they don't even apologize for all the time and money that they've wasted. Instead, they have an even worse proposal that will make life even worse and will be even more expensive.
One time-consuming dream of theirs is a circular economy where everything is reused.
That sounds like how the planet works.
If you're running out of laundry detergent, you could take your jug back to the store and fill it up instead of buying another one. That's really the goal.
But people don't want to. You're asking them.
Yeah, I was a kid in the 80s, and I remember we had to get spring water because the well water wasn't the greatest. So you had to go to a spring and take your jugs and then then fill them all up. But imagine doing that with detergent. But like, they're not even considering the liability. Is this got to be supervised? Someone's got to be standing there ready to clean it. Like, I mean, you ever get detergent all over your hand or like just spill it somewhere? Like, it's a nightmare to clean up. You imagine a line of people going to fill up their tubs and you think they're going to self-clean it? It's going to be a mess. Someone's going to slip and break their neck.
Them to do things they don't want to do.
People also don't want insurance rates going up because of catastrophic weather.
Catastrophic weather increases because someone doesn't recycle?
Sure, because of climate change.
Give me a break. Recycling's no climate savior. When Los Angeles mandated recycling, they added 400 polluting garbage trucks. But environmentalists still demand we pick through our trash, switch from plastic to paper.
Just like think about recycling. You have to double the amount of trucks on the road to do this, which you have to double the amount of machinery, backhoes, bulldozers, tractor trailers, boats, because you got to ship it somewhere.
Bags that rip. California even banned small plastic.
Here's the thing about paper. What's in the paper to hold it all together? Are there nasty chemicals in that? Like, remember how we switched from straws because of the turtles or whatnot during COVID? Like, turtle gets a straw in his nose, and now all of a sudden nobody can use plastic straws. And then they find out like there's nasty chemicals in the paper straws that everyone's using that are falling apart. I mean, fact check me on that. Fact check me on everything down in the comments below. And while you're there, check out the description. I'll leave some cool affiliate links on books on this stuff.
Shampoo bottles.
Tasteful things. Why do you want to make life more difficult for travelers? Some of these rules are just so arbitrary and silly. It's simply a way, I think, for Greens and for some politicians to pretend that they're saving the planet. And it's
to
just
feel
absurd.
good. It feels like they're doing something.
Right. And I think they get a charge out of telling people what to do.
Let me know what you think down below. Naturally, we could do better packaging, but as you can see in the video, like it's not a huge impact, but long-term, yeah, we can consider some other forms of packaging. But then you have an entire industry across the entire world, really, that would have to adopt it and make it affordable and profitable and then reasonable. I mean, I'm not against people trying that, but mandating it, it's a bit of a problem. You got to let the free market make the decision. That's just the way it is. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the description below, or comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.